Hello, welcome back, Sharing His Word Ministry. Today we are going to be talking about Judas. And I don't know, I wrote this down when I was doing the videos on Easter week, on the Holy Week. As I was doing that, God was giving me other things for future videos and future teachings. And so I'd wrote down in my notebook a Judas among us. And I wrote my scriptures down, and I've just kind of sat on that. And in God focusing me in this week on this, I don't know if it should be a Judas among us. I think it's supposed to be a Judas within us. I think that's what I'm going to name it, a Judas within us, because each one of us are born in sin. None is better than the other in God's eyes. And we rate people, we look at people in our society in different ways, but God looks at us all the same. And I think we're all born sinners, so we're all born with a Judas within us. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I just want to say something on here. When I get on here to do videos, it's because God's already spoke a word to me. He's already spoken to me about the subject. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's correcting me. And we had something was said the other night. I don't remember who I was talking to, but something was said about people getting mad at the preacher for saying stuff, or, the preacher preaches on might preach on your sin, and, and you're like, oh, why is he talking about me? Understand that if you're in a church service and the preacher is preaching out of the Bible, God's word, and it hits you and you feel convicted, or like, oh, how does he know that? Understand that he don't know. He don't know what's going on in your world. He don't know those deepest, darkest secrets, but God does. And that's God's way. That's called conviction. It's not about a person knowing your business. It's about God correcting our wrongs and showing us where we're wrong in the way we're doing, living, whatever the sin may be, and wanting you to understand that it's a sin and you repent of it and ask forgiveness for it, and then turn away from it and move on. That's what that is. So don't get mad at a person, whether it be from a pulpit or, speaking on a platform like this, or a youth camp, or whatever it may be. Understand that it's the Holy Spirit speaking to you to remind you of your sin. Okay? So I do want to say that, a disclaimer. Don't shoot the messenger, as they say. I'm just the messenger. But anyway, we're going to talk about Judas. So let's go ahead and get into it. And I struggled with this week about, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is it not? And then as I was scrolling on social media, and I posted it on my story the other day, it came up, and there was this post, and it says, and I had been praying about it that morning, about, Lord, are you sure you want me to do this? I kind of was unsure. Well, then this popped up, and it says, it's easy to look at Judas and shake our heads in disappointment. After all, he chose money over Jesus. But I have to ask myself, that's the key word. This ain't about somebody else. This is about you. And it's not about the Judas among us in our group looking at other people going, oh, there's our Judas. Oh, there's one in every crowd. That's the problem. That's the troublemaker. No. It's about looking at the Judas within us, because all of us have one. It says, but I have to ask myself, how often do I choose something over Jesus and do it for free? And that hit me right square in the eyeballs. You heard me? It hit me right, boom. Oh. And so then I seen clearly what God was showing me. And when he's preparing a message with me, he's showing me where I need to change, what my sins are, how this is directed at me. So what he's given me is then what I get to share with you, because I've had to look at myself in it. So let's go. We're going to start in Matthew 26, and I'm going to start in verse 1, and I'm going to kind of give you we're going to kind of hit some highlights in verses 26, in chapter 26, because, and just talk about this. So here we go. Matthew 26, like I said, I dropped my glasses, so I'm just going to try to read it and hold my arms out as far as I can. My arms are getting shorter and shorter. So it says, now it came to pass when Jesus had finished all these sayings that he said to his disciples, you know that after 2 days is the Passover, and the Son of Man will be delivered up to be crucified. So Jesus is telling them, I'm going to be crucified. This is what's going to happen. Then the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders of the people assembled at the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas. Can't say them words. I know how to say it. It just won't come out my mouth. And plotted, anyway, it was the high priest, okay? And plotted to take Jesus by trickery and kill him. But they said, not during the feast, lest there be an uproar among the people. So in other words, Jesus had told the disciples, I'm going to be crucified. In the meantime, picture the scene. Jesus is telling the disciples, I'm going to be crucified. Okay, and then you have these high priests, the scribes, and the elders of the church. They're over here discussing how they're gonna kill him. They're saying, we're gonna kill him, and they're trying to do it. And it says trickery. They were behind the scenes. They were gonna do something to kill him. So they're getting their stuff together behind the scenes. Okay. And then it says, then we're going to jump down to verse 14. And it says, then one of the 12, Jesus's disciples, the closest that were to him, the ones that he chose, the ones that walked with him, talked with him, seen all of the firsthand knowledge, got behind the scenes knowledge, were taught by Jesus, the Son of God, the Messiah. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priest and said, what are you willing to give me if I deliver him to you? And they counted out to him 30 pieces of silver. So from that time, he sought opportunity to betray Jesus. You know, there's so much in this that we can look at. And this is just one of the things we're going to look at. Sometimes people come into our circle, people come into our life that aren't faithful to us. They're not a faithful friend. They may be what we call a fair weather friend. They're friends with you one day until it don't suit them, and then they're not friends with you. Or they're friends maybe to get something from you, maybe for what you can benefit them. You know, we have this expression, ride or die. You know, we have friends that are ride or die. People that we know, they're going to be there for us no matter what. You know why? Not just by their mouth, but what they've shown, what they say. Faithful. That they're going to stand with us good, bad, and ugly. Okay? And then we have those that are not so. They might be friends that come into your life for a reason, for a season, We laugh and call those kind of people like that kind of rub us the wrong way, or they betray us. They find out intimate details, and then they might go spread the news that we can't confide in, because we figured out that if we say anything to them, they're going to go tell everybody. There's those kind of friends. And what I want us to look at in this is, what kind of friend are we? Are we a betrayer? Are we a fair weather friend? Are we a ride or die? Are we a somebody can come and tell you something and you keep it to yourself because you know, okay, I would never tell them because I don't want to, I would never say anything because I don't want to hurt them. They're my friend. Or are we the ones that we do the betraying? That somebody tells us something and then we're like, oh, you know what she said, da 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 da, or we turn it around on them. It says, what are you willing to give me if I deliver him to you? He was wanting something. It was about him. I've heard preachers say before, you have an I problem. I. What I can get, what I can do, what I can, I. And what are you going to do for me, kind of thing. And that's how Judas was doing. He wanted something. So he was willing to give up Jesus if he could get something. And in this turn, it was money. And I want us to look at ourselves, and I want you to look within yourself. And I know we can think of those people. I know people who've betrayed me. I know people around me that I can tell things to, and those I can't tell things to. I know I've had people around me that have, they might be my friend one day, and then the next day they're not. Nothing's happened that I know of. It's just they don't talk to me. They don't confide in me. They don't, one day they're checking on me and all nicey nice, and the next time, they act like they don't want to talk to me. So I don't know. That's just people. That's just people. So, and I'm sure I'm the same with those, because I get busy and I do things, and I don't mean to not check on or do. It's just that I'm wrapped up in my stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, but what I want us to look at is not the Judas among us. I want us to look at the Judas within us. Are there things in your life that you're focusing on more than Jesus? Are there things in your life that you're putting before Jesus? We can focus on the money part. We seek the almighty dollar. We are hard at it. We're trying to make money. We're trying to get stuff. We're trying to, be in all the things, do all the things, keep up with this one, keep up with that one. We're chasing that money. And if that means, I'm working every Sunday, I can't go to church because my job requires me to work every Sunday, then are you making a point to get there? If your church has church on Wednesday night, do you try to get there on Wednesday night if you can't make Sunday? Probably not. Because what we focus on, what we worship is what you're going to do. If you put God first and you worship God, you're going to make sure Sunday morning, I'm at church. No questions asked. But there are some people that there's jobs, things are open. It used to be things weren't open on Sundays. So, nobody worked on Sunday because they were closed. That was a respectful thing. people to go to church. That's why they did that. That was God's day. And now in this society and this time, day and time, everything's open. God is not the main priority. We know Satan's running rampant in this world. This is Satan's world. He's in charge of this one. The prince of darkness lingers on the earth, and he is in charge of this world, and he runs this world. And it's getting to be more and more as time passes. And so, you know, everything's open. Some people have to work on Sunday. They don't have a choice. If they want to feed their family, because we have to have money to live in this world, they have to work on Sunday. And so, but how are we justifying that? How are you, what are you doing to bring honor to God, to do what God tells you to do, to try to put God first in a world where God's not first? And it's not easy to put God first. Well, let me just say this. When you start a job, and for a Christian, if you're following God, if you're doing God's will, first of all, we should be in prayer to God and ask Him, put me in a job you want me in. What is your will for my life, Lord? Not my will, not what I want, not what I want to do, but your will. Where do you want me? Put me in places you want me. And if we have to seek God first. I posted some scriptures this week about focus on God, because this was very much, I'm going to see if I can find them so I can read to you, because this was very much part of what God was showing me in this, the Judas within me, was that we have to stay focused on God so that Judas in us doesn't prosper. We feed into that, or we feed into God. So let me see if it's still on here. I don't have it in my notes. I don't think I have it. No, of course it just deleted. But anyway, the scriptures were, I can't remember off the top of my head what the scriptures were, but it was to, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. That was one of them. That's in Matthew. And then there was a Colossian. I'm trying to think of what it said. I'm so sorry. I should have wrote them down. But there are scripture that tell us to put God first, to seek God first, to look to Him first before we do anything. Whether it be your family, whether it be dating, whether it be marriage, whether it be, work, a job, anything, having children. We are in the process of buying a house. And so, we sought the Lord for that and prayed about it, and all the things, and as we started praying about it, and God started opening doors and showing us, this is where you need to go, this is what you need to do, this is what He led us. When you get a job, when you go for a job interview, you might say, well, I'm a Christian and I go to church on Sunday. That's the only time I can't work. If you don't have church on Sunday night, you could say, I go to church, I can't do anything. I could work Sunday afternoon or, whatever, but Sunday mornings, I go to church. Or you can say, I don't work on Sundays at all. That's my God day and my family day, and I spend my time. We go to church, and then I spend my time with my family, but I'll work 6 days a week. That's what my husband has said, and he has told that. Now, does he have to work periodically on Sundays? Yes, there are things that go on at his work that every now and then, not every Sunday, but every now and then he might have to work a Sunday. But his priority, what he does most of the time, what he focuses on is, that's God's day. That's my family day. I'll work for you 6 days, but that 7th day is for God. That's what he tells us to do in his commandments. And so we seek the almighty dollar, and we'll do anything to get it, just like Judas. He was willing to betray Jesus to get that money. And we betrayed Jesus and not go to his house, not go to worship, not put him first, not make church a priority. And I'm going to tell you something, daddies, husbands, when you do that, you're setting the precedent for your household. Your kids are looking at you. And if daddy don't make it a priority to be in church, your kids are not going to make it a priority to be in church. And if mama don't get up and make sure the kids are going to church and say, no, we're going to church Sunday, we're going to church. If daddy's not doing it, mama, it's your job to do it. And if mama don't say, we're going to church, then guess what? The kids are not going to make a priority. And I can go on and on about that, and that's a whole other teaching. I got that in my book too. We'll come back to that another day. But when we're seeking the money, we're not seeking God. And we have to have money. We have to have money to live here. I mean, and things are so expensive and going up. It's like, hey, if I can get the overtime, I'm going to get it. Okay, but seek God first. Let me tell you something. We are paycheck to paycheck at my house. But God has provided every step of the way. Every step. See, when me and my husband got married, I was told after my first child, I lost 2 babies. And then after my child was born, my oldest child was born, I was told I could not have any more children, that I would not be able to. And so for 18 years, I got, my husband had a son when we got married, and that was a blessing to me, because then I had my girl and my boy, and that was a blessing, and I love him just like he is mine, because he is mine. He may not be flesh and blood, but he is in my heart. And God allowed me to be a part of his life, and I'm grateful for that. That's another story. But anyway, after my husband and I had gotten married, and my husband set rules, because I was early in my Christian walk and I didn't know a lot of the things. And my husband said, Sundays are for church. I had not lived like that. We had gone to the lake on Sunday. I didn't go to church. I didn't know. Once I got saved, I started going. But I did not know that that was a commandment from the Lord. Nobody had taught me that. I didn't know. So if you don't know, how are you going to do it? So my husband said, we're going to church on Sundays. That's what we're doing. And he didn't just say we're going to church. We're going to Sunday school. We're getting up, going to Sunday school. Yes, he was working 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, no off day. Sunday was his day. Sunday was actually the only day he could sleep in and rest and do what he wants. But he didn't. And we was like, do we have to go to Sunday school? Can't we just sleep in a day? No, sure can't. When we get home, you can take a nap. But we're getting up and we're going to Sunday school. You get up to go to school. You get up to go to work. Yes, I know that's your only day to sleep in. But guess what? God will give you rest. So we would get up. And I'm honest. I'm going to be honest with you. Some days I was like, oh, I don't want to go. Not just the kids doing it, me. They want to go. There's still some days I don't want to go. I want to sleep in. And we would get up and go. And once I got there, it was like I was so glad that I went because I got so much. And we would come home, we would eat lunch, and we nap. That's nap time. The rest of the day, we rested. Or we did what we wanted. Or we went where we wanted, or whatever. But used to, they had Sunday night service. And so we would rest that afternoon, and then we would go back to church on Sunday night. But we made God a priority, not money, not our self. Sometimes we put self as a priority. We betrayed Jesus by focusing on self, focusing on what we want to do, focusing on, well, that's my only day off. That's the only day I have to sleep in. But what about me? What about me? What about me? God provides you a job. God provides you good health. God provides your home. God provides you a vehicle. God provides everything that you have here on this earth. And you can give him a few hours of your time one day a week. He gives you the other 6 to do all the things, to get all the things. And all he asks is for just a few hours for you to go. And it's not even, it's for your good and his glory. For you to go and learn about him. To be with other people of like-mindedness, other people that believe the same as you do, that's going to lift you up, that's going to encourage you, that's going to help you, that's going to guide you. He gives you that. And he wants you to go and be a part of that and to worship him and put him first one day, just one out of the 7. And we betray him by not doing that, by not putting him first. The Judas within us focuses on self, focuses on money, focuses on it, what's in it for me? What are you going to do for me? I know people that have come into a church and said, what are you going to give me here? What are you giving me? What am I going to get from this place? Instead of coming in and saying, being prayed up, being focused on God and saying, I'm coming in because God has sent me here to visit, to see, is this where I can serve him? Is this a place that I can serve him? Is this where God wants me to serve? Is this where God wants me to be used by him for these people? To encourage them, to teach them, to whatever it may be. Instead of going into it, what you got for me, what you gonna do for me, got a handout, need some help. It's where can I serve? What can I do for you? Where does God need me to be in this place? The Judas within us wants. Me. Where's that for you? What is your Judas character? We all have one. You're a sinner. Judas was a sinner. We all have a Judas in us. Where's yours? What is your Judas? Okay, let's go ahead and look at verse, I'm going to read verses 47 to 50. It says, and while he was still speaking, behold, Judas, one of the 12, with a great multitude, with swords and clubs, came from the chief priests and elders of the people. So here come Judas coming in with the chief priests, the elders, all these people behind him. They had swords, they had weapons, clubs. Now, his betrayer, which means Jesus' betrayer, which is Judas, had given them a sign saying, whomever I kiss, he is the one. Seize him. Immediately he went up to Jesus and said, greetings, Rabbi, and kissed him. He came face to face with Jesus, the one he had been walking with, the one he had seen miracles, the one that had ministered to him, the one that had given him everything that he needed. And he walked up, and with a kiss on the cheek, he betrayed him to his face. It's kind of like we have those people that stab us in the back. Well, he stabbed him in the heart. Straight to him. No problem. Made that choice. That was a choice that he made. And he stabbed him in the back, in the heart, to the face, with a kiss. But Jesus said to him, friend, why have you come? Jesus still called him a friend. See, sometimes the people we surround ourselves with, the people we call friend, will betray you. We'll talk about you. We'll not have your best interest at heart. We'll not be looking out for you. And sometimes you might be that friend. You might be that friend that betrays. Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And suddenly one of those who were with Jesus, which was one of the disciples, it was Peter, James, or John, stretched out his hand and drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest, and cut his ear off. But Jesus said to him, put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? Now then, could the scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen this way? So in other words, everything that happened for a reason. And Jesus knew that. He had already seen the cup. He was in the Garden of Gethsemane. We talked about that, praying. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what had to happen. Judas betrayed him for a reason. Judas was put there in the group to betray. He was used by Satan, but he was also used by God to for Jesus to die. And things happen for a reason. And we always say that things happen for a reason. They do. Because God's plan is bigger than our plan. God's ways are bigger than our ways. That's what the Bible tells us. The way God thinks is not the same way we think. Our minds are so minute that we can't even comprehend all the things. So we don't know why things happen the way they do. We don't know what is happening sometimes in our lives, and we get discouraged, or we get upset with people, or we get, sideways with people and get mad at them and angry. We don't know why things are happening like they are, even those closest to us that we call friend, that betrays us or turns their back on us or talks about us or whatever it may be. But we don't know why those things happen. But we know that there's a bigger plan going on. And that's what happened here. Judas betrayed Jesus. He allowed himself to be tempted by the money. He came to Jesus right in his face and did it with no regard for him. And, there's so much more we can talk about, and I know I'm running out of time, and there's so much more we can say about it, that if we dig into it more. And I'm also going to say this in chapter 27, verse 3, it says, then Judas, his betrayer, seeing that he had been condemned, was remorseful and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned by betraying the innocent blood. And he went and took it back to them because he realized what he had done. When they took him and he's seen the reality of it. See, sometimes we don't see the reality of our sin. We don't see the exactly what we're doing by betraying Jesus, how we're betraying him. And I think we might stop here and go on that next week. But let me ask you this. What is your Judas within us, within you? What are you doing that's betraying Jesus in your life? Look within yourself. Pray. Ask God to show you how are you betraying him in your life? Stand behind the cross and let God lead. See you next week. We'll continue this next week. Have a good week.